Welcome to the LemonTube Amiga Workbench Guides. This video was made possible by our sponsors on Patreon. If you'd like to support these videos, why not check out our LemonTube Amiga Club subscription page, where you'll find all the latest perks and freebies. In this part, we'll be checking out how to install some new colourful icons onto our workbench so that they look nice and colourful. And so for this, of course, we're going to go back to the Aminet to download something, and exotic icons, whatever that may be, and you can see that there is packs and packs of them available on the Aminet, and also other resources around the internet. So let's check some of those out. We've got the new icons that you remember we installed, new icons package, but we haven't installed any of the icons from new icons yet, and we've just found all these other icons as well. So now that we've got directory Opus and we've installed LHA, Opus will unarchive those wherever we want to put them. So here they are in the root directory. It looks like DH0 at the moment. So let's see what I decide to do on this ancient footage, and hopefully I'll decide to copy those across onto our some kind of destination folder. And if you double click with the right mouse button on the header bar, move it to the other one and press the left click, you can copy across the directory that you want to work from. So that's really helpful. Double click with the right and press with the left on the destination, and that will do that. And so I've just made a new directory called icons. So if we click on one and then click it on the other side, it will decompress that, but I don't think it will decompress them all, even though we've got them all selected. So what I'm going to do is deselect them all, and let's just copy over and uncompress, clicking and then clicking very rapidly in the other window. It should automatically decompress that, there we go, into the destination folder. And that's a quick shortcut key to uncompress LHA archives. It will look in C, pull up LHA, and it will decompress whatever we've got onto the destination folder. So at the moment we've got a bunch of icons. Congratulations, they're all info files. It would have made more sense if they were .icon, and then that would definitely tell us that they're icon files. But anyway, they're in there now. So what else have we got? Let's copy something else into the icons folder. This is 64 color icons, version 1, icons, prefs, and so all of these will now be extracted into the destination. And it takes some time. There's a preview IFF and international file format, whatever that's supposed to be called. That's basically standard on the Amiga. And also ILBM, you can see there's a palette there, and that's a custom palette, and we are using a custom palette at the moment. This is directory Opus, which uses its own custom palette. You can see I've LHA extra dest. I've actually added my own pull down menu with that on there. So let's just take a quick look at that pull down menu. You can create this yourself in directory Opus. You can see the command line. You can change what it is. It's a command or an AmiDock command. It's virtually the same thing. And so C LHA and whatever it is with those things at the end, you can actually check what those are. First selected entry, and then you select the destination directory, and it should automatically copy those over, extract those to the destination. So that's how you do it using the command line and setting that up. So now that we've got that all set up, let's continue to extract all these, and while that's doing that, let's just check out some of the icons that we've got already. So this is icons, artist icons, and we've also got emote icons as well. So let's check out these, and they use their own custom palettes. So let's check this out. It's fairly good. We've got lots of different coloured icons that we can use, and just checking those out, we have, well, some of those are kind of italicized on an angle, and the same with these drawers. So if you want drawers at an angle, Now, so folders, then you can have those on your workbench. You can have your workbench looking like anything you like. It doesn't have to be boring like a PC. You can have any icon for any application, so you can see a variety of them at this point. So what else have we got? Miscellaneous and disk icons, it looks like. And that's a nice RAM icon to replace the RAM icon that we've got there in the corner. And you'll have to put that in as a line, as a startup sequence, to copy that from wherever it is into the RAM disk by overwriting the disk.info. And you can do that, and that will then appear as the RAM disk. And this hard drive, well, that's pretty good. So what we're going to do is leave that out onto the desktop, and we might use that a bit later on. For now, we're going to leave that RAM disk exactly where it is, and all the other disks as well. And I can't see a custom palette in here, so I'm not quite sure the palette that it uses. It must use the standard Workbench palette. And these exotic icons, well, there are quite some of those. It's managed to get up to the C directory at the moment, and I'm not quite sure what these are. And of course it's using this custom palette. I'm extracting that at the moment, so you take it for granted that Workbench is going to be doing things simultaneously for us while we continue messing around. So we've also got an icons drawer at the bottom and 64 colour icons version 1. So while this is getting through this, I'm going to user break that. I think it's Commodore C or V or B or X or something like that, but eventually you can press a key to break out of that. And that's one of those things that I press from memory. I can't actually remember what it is, but I think it could be Alt X or something like that, or something like that. So you can see that the directory Opus has its own colour palette, so these icons won't show up in the correct colours, and that's because this is running on a public screen. This is separate to the Workbench, which is running on its own screen, and so you can run things in directory Opus in real time, and they will run asynchronously, or however you pronounce that, and they will run simultaneously. So what we're actually doing at the moment, we're setting up some drawers, and we're cloning the artist icon info. And what that will do, well, we're being lazy about it. Instead of creating a new drawer, we're going to rename that to 64 colour icons, and then that gives it a drawer, because we know artist icons info is actually a drawer icon, a blank drawer icon. We can create that and call it an info, and that will link up to that, and that means a drawer icon will now appear for that without us selecting the show all files that we had to do to find that. So now that it's got a drawer, and what else am I going to do? I'm copying that as. What are we doing at the moment? We'll soon find out. And icons info. It looks like I'm copying a drawer over, replacing icons info. No idea, but it just means that we can now icons info see that the icons drawer and the 64 colour icons without having, hopefully, to show all icons. So that's the 64 colour icons, and that's the icons drawer, and the dot icons has something in there as well, and that's loading up. Let's see, and they look like, again, a different palette to the one that we're using at the moment, and maybe this uses a stock Workbench palette, and quite a lot of these icon collections come with an image that you might have seen dotted around. The image shows us what this icon collection is supposed to look like with the correct colours, and sometimes there's a palette converter in there to change our palette to the correct colours. And you can see in this one AJ palette and example IFF. That should hopefully do that for us. So this is another collection, work and text. This looks very much more like maybe a Mac kind of a folder system. And so AGA icons, that means that they're running more than 4 colours, and AGA palette swaps us to that palette. Let's see what that does, and according to this it's supposed to be purple. So we can check out the example IFF to see what they're supposed to look like, but this is what they're supposed to look like. because we're now running that palette. You can see my disk icon in the background is still blue, but the hard drive icon on the left is now pink. So let's check out the example, and this will load up a picture of what it's supposed to look like. And yes, you can see purple all over the place, and it was pretty horrific to me if you go for this icon collection. So, well, now we can view those in their correct colours. I don't really want to continue with this, and as I say, my disk icon still works even though we've swapped the colour palette to a new icon set, so it's compatible, and a lot of these icons are compatible with the native palette of Workbench. So let's check out the 64 colour icons, and this is Workbench, so it looks like it's another Workbench replacement icon set, and yes, this uses its own colour palette, so we're not going to see many of those. And there is another preview. Let's check out, let's see what it's supposed to look like, and it's supposed to be in colour. So let's wait for that to load up on our super new system. There it is, and well, it's yes another icon set that makes it look pretty much like a 1995 Windows 95 kind of compatible machine, and I'm sure there is an icon set for that if you look around for it. So this uses its own palette, and we're going to have to look around again to see if we can change the palette to the correct one. And for this, well, I'm going to return back to the stock 4 colour palette. You can see all of the icons are now 4 colours, and so what can we do about that? Well, we can load up hopefully our Workbench and go into the screen mode prefs, and we can hack that up on the VGA chipset all the way up to 256 Super VGA compatible colours. So that's 4 colour mode, and it looks like 4 colours are being used, so that's not really helpful. And so let's hack that up. Well, 8, let's change that to 16. 16 colours are now being used. It's not really amazing, and so let's put that up again. Let's try 32, and Workbench will go a bit slower. You can see the hard drive icon is now working, and our disk icon is now brown, but that's because we're using a colour palette swap. Let's try 64, let's just see, and now the hard drive should be working perfectly with all of the colours, and our disk icon is still broken. And we're going to check out just a bit later on where we got that from, but let's just use for now 128 colours, so hopefully all of these will be visible. This is the standard Workbench palette, so let's check out our new hard drive with our new icons in there, and this is what new icons is supposed to look like. It's running fairly slowly at the moment because I think we're only using an 020 CPU, but we can see that there are nice colourful icons in there that we can replace our Workbench with, and those are by drawer, by folder, so you can check out every one of them. Some of them are blank, some of those should be full to the brim of new icons. That's why it's called new icons. So we have installed new icons already. It's in our startup sequence, so we are now running the compatible Workbench for that. So let's see if Amiga compatible palette is compatible with any of these, and the 64 colour icons aren't. So it looks like these are the ones that pulled up before and they're still not compatible. So it looks like that we need to change the colour palette for those. And so once you've changed the colour palette for your icon set, you're stuck with it. So any other icons that you want to install have to be compatible and the right colours, otherwise they're going to be different colours to the ones that you've just installed, which is a bit naff. You would think that all of these would be Workbench colour compatible. You can see the artist icons here are all Workbench compatible. They are nice and colourful, and I think those are maybe 64 colour icons again, and nice shading involved. So what you have to do is install those. You can't just copy them over. So here we are again. This is new icons in the discs drawer. You can see lots of fancy discs, and yes, this one, even though I think I've recoloured that with the icon editor or something like that, it's actually the same icon that we're using, it's just a different blue colour. So it looks like we're using the new icons disc icon here, and so it looks like that's the one. So that's where I got that from, and there are tons of disc icons here, but you can see, well, it doesn't need a default tool to run those because it's just a drawer icon, but if it's an application it will. And so if you check out these icons, none of them will contain a default tool. So let's just check out that. In the information, default tool is 0. That's the tool that it defaults to run it. So in this case it should be called eye control or fonts or screen mode prefs or whatever it is. And so without a default tool connected to that program, it won't run. So what can we do? Well, we can do it the slow and the hard way that we've seen already through the icon editor, or we can use the custom installer to actually install all of these onto our hard drive, and what that will do is save for us any of those preferences we've got in the icon file, the default tool that it needs to use. And so, well, we could copy those over, but after you've installed those, you can see it should have copied those all the way over, and it means we've now got all of these new icons on our workbench and in full colour mode. And so you have to use the installer to preserve all those preferences per icon. You can't just copy those over, otherwise nothing will run. And I found that out the hard way, because I thought you could just copy them over, and that's a bit of footage that I've chopped out. So you have to install it with the installer. If it doesn't come with the installer, then, well, maybe you're going to have to find a compatible icon editor that works with those colours and manually copy them over, but hopefully somewhere there should be an install script to copy those over, preserve them. So you can see there is a vast variety of icons out there, not just the ones I'm showing you at the moment. So finally, let's check out these exotic icons ripped off from the ocean logo in the background. And wow, there is every game imaginable under the sun available here. So let's have a look. These are compatible again with our stock workbench palettes. So you can see all of these are in the right colours, and it looks like somebody's scanned in the box art of all of these games rather than the title page. And then if you wanted to run those, well, it's saying it can't find the default tool, Alien Breed 3D2 or whatever that was. So that means that you can't just drag and drop these onto your workbench, you have to install them. And, well, hopefully you can connect those to WHD load slaves, and hopefully the slave icon or the normal icon that you use for WHD load can be replaced with these, whichever ones you've got. And hopefully you can preserve or retype in those tool types so that it goes to the WHD load slave and it runs using those icons. And if there isn't an easy way to install these, it's very much hard work, so I hope that there is. And so let's another check out AJ icons. I think we've checked these out already, so that's basically coming to the end now of our installations guide. We've gone through all the installations of how to install basic things onto our Amiga, and we've checked out how to look at the C commands and operate them through the shell and the command line interface. And the devices, you don't really need to worry about those connected to the computer. The libraries, usually you'll get a library with an application that needs to be installed to the libs, or a special C command sometimes uses a library. And prefs we've gone through, WE Startup we've gone through, tools as well. So hopefully this has introduced you with a nice icon set as well in the background to a nice looking workbench at least, and with a nice colour background as well, and with a nice set of colours that shows off the machine and brings it a bit more up to date. and I'm sure you could get this looking like Windows 95 if you really wanted to, and that's not too bad for a highly neglected operating system based around a ramshackle patchwork created in 1985 by the original Amiga coders.